Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, patch day once again, and we're on patch 9 this time, and of the patches Bethesda have released recently even, there have been some really good ones, and I think this one is looking to be one of the best yet, so I'm pretty excited, so we're going to jump in and take a look. So, patch highlights include Ever Upwards, backpacks, personal vending machines, legendary exchange machines, and camp and workshop changes, and there's some really cool stuff in here. So, new Wild Appalachia content. Join the Pioneer Scouts. So we touched on this in the last video through the blog post. But read Pioneer Scouts posters at train stations around Appalachia to begin your journey as the newest member of the Order of the Tadpole. You can unlock Pioneer Scouts poster at your camp for free in the Atomic Shop through to June 9th, as per with the new quests I've put in recently. Tadpole, you can take part in a variety of activities and mini-quests to show off your pioneering spirit. Complete new Pioneer Scouts challenges to earn badges that will help you rank up and can be turned in for new fleet. So I think they're putting machines in around somewhere. They haven't specified where, but I'm sure it'll become apparent when we play. It will allow you to turn these badges in and claim, I think, primarily crafting plans, so recipes and camp-based ones. It'll be interesting to see what they've got for us in there. Very excited for that. There's a lot of cool camp stuff in this one as well, which I'm very happy about. Join the new Terrors of the Dark event to listen to spooky stories around the campfire with your fellow Pioneer Scouts. So, new event. I think this one's going to happen over by Grafton Lake, the Pioneer Scouts camp up there. Read our recent article on Fallout.com to learn more about the Pioneer Scouts. Cool. Or you can check out the video I made, which should be linked on a card about now as well. So, backpacks. I know a lot of people are excited for this, and I am as well. There's a few questions I've had that are answered here, which is quite cool as well. New functional items that you can equip to increase your carry weight. Receive your first backpack by being promoted to Pioneer Scouts rank of Possum, which I'm guessing is fairly early on, I would imagine. Craft high-level backpacks to receive larger carry weight bonuses. Very cool. Backpacks could be modded to change their appearance to match your personal tastes, also very cool. You can add functional mods to give your backpack more utility, like increased damage reduction or food refrigeration, often in exchange for reduced storage capacity. Well, that makes sense, but yeah, I think being able to refrigerate food and make it last longer is definitely going to be a good thing, and damage reduction has an appeal as well. Especially there's a fair chance this will remove at least some of the usage of power armor, at least the way I use power armor anyway. Additional carry weight. Backpacks will remain visible over outfits and armor, but will be unequipped when you step into power armor, so it's worth bearing in mind. I think for me, I'm going to try and set up a backpack in a way that my power armor does actually give more carry weight than the backpack does. That will probably be the case anyway, it would make sense, but that way, if you put power armor on in a hurry during a fight or something, you won't suddenly find yourself over encumbered where you weren't previously. Particularly true with the excavator power armor. But as I say, I can't see that really being a problem. Maybe if you've got the highest level of carry weight and no additional mods, but no, it'd be interesting to see. Something worth bearing in mind, I think. But outfits that already have a cosmetic backpack built in will not display your functional backpack. However, you will still receive the benefits the backpack provides. That's things like the Field Scribe's outfit from the Brotherhood of Steel, the Union outfit, I believe? One of the two. You can pick up in the edge of the Toxic Valley at Prickett's Fort, places like that. Both of those have already have a backpack on them that doesn't do anything. So you'll see that instead of your new functional one. So if you're wearing one of those at the moment, you might want to think about swapping that out. At least if you want to see your functional one anyway. So, interesting note here. Our previous article on backpacks stated that they will remain functional while wearing power armor. This is incorrect and we apologise for the miscommunication. Little point in Bethesda's favour here that they've come out and said, yep, we hecked this up and we apologise. Could very easily have said that was a change that they made at the last minute. And they'd have gotten away with doing that. But they haven't, they've been straight up about it, so credit there. What I'd expect of them, but, you know, some of the accusations floating around, I thought it's worthy of noting. Once again, more information on Fallout.com or in the video that I've already linked on a card. So, personal vending machines. An awful lot of people, myself included, are very interested in player vending. That should be with us in a few short hours. So, start a new business venture by building a vending machine at your camp, which you can use to sell items to other dwellers for caps. You can build up to 4 vending machines in your camp using the Vendors tab in the Build menu. Kind of interesting. As we'll see in a minute, there's a limit to how much you can put in one vending machine. I think if you've got 4, you can probably have 4 times as much, but we'll have to see if that's actually the reality of it. Guessing for those people who are really going heavy for the player vending kind of RP, that will allow them to facilitate that a bit more, particularly with I imagine only one person will be able to operate a vending machine at a time. So if you're expecting quite a few people at your camp, or sort of aiming to achieve that, hopefully being able to place multiples will mean that those people aren't just queuing up for the one machine all the time, which is definitely good, I think. There's a good shout there. So power the vending machine up to advertise your camp to other players on the map. Players will then be able to fast travel to camps that offer vending and appear on the map. So that certainly should make it more viable. You won't have to only set up by a road for that. I think with the next build I'm going to do is going to be focused on player vending, so I'll probably position it somewhere sensible, but maybe not too obvious, which is cool. Up to 30 individual items or stacks of items can be assigned to a vending machine at any given time. It doesn't specify whether that's across all your vending machines or just per vending machine, but to hazard a guess, it might be per vending machine. We'll open up the number of options you've got for selling a wide range of stock. And that way you could also organise it a little better, weapons and armour in one, plans in another, yada yada yada, that'd be quite cool. Got an absolute buttload of screws, I could imagine you could make a bit of money. Talking about whether or not legendary items are likely to appear a lot in player vending on Twitter in the past day or so. And my current theory is that it all depends on how the purveyor works when she drops. I'd imagine for the short term, most people will sell their legendaries for legendary Scrip so they can get items that suit them when the purveyor arrives. However, if it turns out that the purveyor's inventory is based on random rolls, or it has a poor selection of items, shall we say, particularly at the level 3, the 3-star range, then it's entirely possible that people will turn their back on the purveyor and go straight for player vending, and that will end up with a much more dynamic opportunity. Just depends what's going to give you the best chance of getting the specific item you want, really, I guess. But we'll find out how that goes in, I believe it's just over a week on Thursday. I think I said that the purveyor will be arriving, which is very, very cool. Items you've assigned to vending will not be removed from your stash. Instead, they will display an icon next to their names so that it's easy to tell what you've placed on sale at a glance. You will receive a notification when a player buys one of your items. You will get 90% of the sale price, and 10% will be taken as a tax to help maintain the health of the game's economy and mitigate inflation. This is something we were talking about in the last video, actually. They said there was going to be a 10% fee, but they didn't really explain why, and that was, my guess was to help maintain the game's economy. We'll have to see whether or not that's in any way effective. I know naff all about this sort of thing, if I'm completely honest. I'm no economist. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not that works. Hopefully Bethesda thought this through well, and it does, and things go quite well. So items can still be sold even after you've reached the current maximum cap balance of 25,000, but you will not receive any caps beyond that limit. So the question that's not answered here is whether or not they'll essentially hold any caps over that point back until you can drop below the threshold, so hold them in escrow, I suppose, whatever. Or whether or not you'll just lose them outright. Because it doesn't specify, I would recommend operating on the assumption that you will lose them and basically not selling anything if you get over that point. On the other hand, if you've got 20,000 caps, just go buy whatever you want. That's just a ridiculous number. I think the most I've ever managed to claw together was 4,500, and that took ages, so 25,000 is massive. So yeah, I can't see it being a huge issue, but it's something to bear in mind if by some miraculous means you've managed to get that kind of cap balance. Or you can give them free to a good home. So, legendary exchange machines, something else I'm very, very excited for. Finally get rid of all those legendaries cluttering up both my stash and my pockets. And yeah, I've got ridiculous numbers of legendaries sticking out, bleeding everywhere right now, so I'll be glad to get shot of a lot of them. So, legendary exchange machines added at train stations around Appalachia. You can use them to turn your unwanted legendary items in and get a new currency, legendary Scrip. What the purveyor will be trading in, not caps. So they can be used to buy legendary items from the purveyor, who will be arriving on the 16th of May, which, as I say, if I remember rightly, is a week on Thursday. Prepare for her arrival by exchanging your items for Scrip. The higher the star rating of your legendary items, the more Scrip you will receive. And conversely, when you go to buy, the more Scrip they'll cost, I suppose. And legendary Scrip cannot be traded and cannot be shared across characters on your account, which makes sense because you can't just directly ship your legendary items around like that either. You have to jump through the hoops of trading with another player and logging out, logging back in, yada yada yada. So, Bethesda have no desire to make trading legendary items across characters any more viable. It wouldn't make any sense for legendary Scrip to do that either, so any more than the caps do, I believe. So, camps, crafting and workshops. There's some cool changes in here, which more than I was expecting, and a number that I'd forgotten about, which I'm quite happy to be reminded of. So I had already thought this one was in place, but apparently not. I gather people have been angling for this for a while. Damage protections for your camp. Camp objects and structures no longer take damage from other players as long as the defending player and their camp defences are not hostile to the attackers. I hope this means that your turrets won't attack unless you attack first. That would make sense. So ultimately, people can't just grief your camp, come along and destroy it, which is very, very cool. I'd imagine that won't apply in survival mode. I don't know, it doesn't specify one way or the other, so maybe it does, but I'd be surprised if it did. Now, a lot of people will be very happy for that. I've been fortunate, partly because I moved my camp around, that I've not had any issues with griefing at my camp. A little bit at workshops, but not at my camp. So, yeah, I've been lucky on that point, but I know those who haven't will be very, very happy about this. One thing that I am very, very much looking forward to doing is foundation change. They're removing the requirement that all foundation pieces in a block of foundations need to be built on terrain. So in short, that means so long as the first one is in an acceptable place and is connected properly to terrain, any subsequent pieces you snap to that first one, or any pieces that are then snapped onwards, yada yada yada, you get the gist, won't need to necessarily be connected to terrain, so they can basically float. Bear in mind, if you've got floating foundations, it's probably going to look daft, but it will open up the number of options of things you can build. I think this is probably one of the things that Todd Howard was referring to at PAX East, regarding removing restrictions, which is cool. So all these changes are opening up more and more ideas for things to build for me, so I've got some cool stuff in the pipeline which I'm looking forward to. This only applies at camps and does not affect when you're building at workshops. Personal terminal. This is a new one. It looks very, very cool. Players can now build and power a personal terminal in their camps. I'm really hoping it's just placed it on a table like the existing ones, rather than the one that is in there already for powering defences and other things, that has its own little table, because that's a bit meh. Proper one. So, a new personal terminal will give information about new discoveries in Appalachia and provides a reminder about visiting some of your daily friends. So presumably about daily quests and things like that. So you can actually use it to get information, which is cool. Has a use. As well as being a cool decorative item, we hope. We'll see when we get in. You can claim a free personal terminal for your humble abode by visiting the Atomic Shop. So it is an Atomic Shop item, but it's free. It can be found in the Miscellaneous Structures tab in the Build menu. Makes sense to include that. It could be, it's not really a floor decoration, it's certainly not a wall decoration, it's not really a structure either, but Miscellaneous is probably your best bet. Here's an interesting one that I'm curious to find out a bit more about. Punch bowls. No longer be activated and beverages can no longer be placed within. Dev note says, who's been spiking the punch? We had to disable the functionality of punch bowls for the time being, but you can still build them and place them in your camp. Really curious as to why they had to disable that. The implication being players are up to no good, but curious. What does that entail exactly? I've heard rumours about people putting vintage Xion in there and then having people just pass out and teleport. I don't know if that's what they're referring to or something else, but it's an interesting thing for us to find out more. So, White Spring. Camps can no longer be built or placed near the White Spring Golf Club. Apparently this is a community request. Players have been asking for Bethesda to remove the ability to build near the White Spring Golf Club, because people basically build turret camps and trivialise the enemies in the area, and they are supposed to be challenging. So they've taken on the feedback and have agreed to place a no-build zone in that location. I assume you will be able to build further down the golf course, sort of over the other side nearer to the White Springs bunker, but up by the golf club is a no-build zone now. And workshop PvP. I'd just like to see that entire feature binned, but you know. They're adjusting the rules of workshop PvP so that workshop owners must now enter the bounds of a workshop before they are placed into PvP. So if you're travelling back, it won't activate until you actually cross the threshold. Workshop turrets no longer attack a wanted player on site. They'll only attack if that player contests the workshop. Players not actively contesting an owned workshop cannot damage objects built there. I'm not exactly sure how the contesting feature works. I've yet to figure that out. I've only run into it a couple of times, and I've always been the defender at the time. So, you know. But that should make griefing... well, accidental griefing won't happen anyway, so... But it's not going to slow down people coming in and just generally being a pain in the butt. So I would really like to see that ditched. I know it's supposed to be an interesting feature, but to me it's just annoying. So there we go. It is what it is and all that stuff. So design and balance, going to go through this reasonably quickly. Ammo, flamer fuel and cryo cells both had their crafting results increased. 5 to 20 for flamer fuel, 15 to 25 for cryo cells. The player requests saying there's not enough ammo available to make those weapons viable. Hopefully that'll help. So fast travel, this is an interesting one. 15-second timer will now appear when attempting to fast travel while enemies are nearby, because I know that's frustrating sometimes, especially if you're not actually in combat. So timer will tick down and you'll automatically fast travel to your selected location when it expires, so long as you're not hit by an enemy during that countdown. Cool. That unable to fast travel when enemies are nearby but not attacking you thing is kind of annoying. Good to see that changed. It's a great little quality of life change that I had no idea about. Very happy about that. So, hunting rifle. This has been a topic of conversation. Increase the damage bonuses provided by prime and 50 caliber receiver mods. These now respectively grant the highest and second highest damage increases of any hunting rifle receiver mod. So yeah, 50 cal was previously not as damaging as it should be. Now it is, which is cool. Makes more sense. It's in keeping with the way it worked in Fallout 4. I don't think it was necessarily a big change, and I don't think it will make it a replacement for my Gauss rifle, but it will make the hunting rifle more viable for longer, which is cool. Although, of course, 50 cal ammo is a nightmare to come by, so roundabouts. Plasma guns. Damage increased by 30%. Enclave plasma guns increased by 10 to 30%, depending on the gun. Doesn't apply to plasma Gatling plasma rather, because that's already one of the highest DPS energy weapons anyway. Okay, makes sense, that's fine. Legendary armor effects. Sentinel, Cavalier, legendary effects, and assassins as well have a 75% chance to apply during combat. That's just made those a hell of a lot more effective. But they also fixed an issue that could cause these effects to double up when you're using certain equipment combinations. Essentially make players, particularly in PvP, utterly invulnerable. And that's no longer a thing. It's a thing that I have seen in the past. I've definitely noticed I was opening up on players before and nothing happened to their health bars, so that is a good fix. It certainly adds a little bit more balance to PvP. It's nowhere near enough, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, I think. Loot. Legendary drop rates for Gatling Gun and Cryolator have been adjusted, non-specific, to better match all the other weapons. You guys might have more of an idea whether that's going to be an up or a down thing. My hunch is down, but it just should mean you will see less of those and more of other things. Always good. Better balance is definitely a positive change. Nuka Shine. Whoops. Several new wake-up locations added to Nuka Shine. Cool. Radstorms occur a little more frequently in the Ash Heap, Cranberry Bog, the Mire, and the Savage Divide, so everywhere apart from the Forest and the Toxic Valley, the two lowest zones. And basically, it's a player feedback thing. They're saying Radstorms are too rare, especially when it comes to completing Radstorm-based challenges. Now they'll occur a bit more often, but they'll still be somewhat rare. And of course, a reminder that in the last patch, nuke zones were added to what counts towards Radstorm challenge progress, so if you doubt, go to a nuke zone. Cool. Quests and events. Bureau of Tourism is now a full main quest. The idea there is that people weren't ending up in the Toxic Valley at the appropriate levels. And yeah, I understand that, because the only reason I actually went there was that I specifically went to go and see what it was all about. I didn't have any particular quest-based reason to go there. So now with Bureau of Tourism being a full main quest, it should be pushed in that direction a little bit sooner. So that should definitely help with making that area a bit more interesting to explore and actually pointing people in that direction, which is cool. Miscellaneous, it's now possible for high-level unruly golfer feral ghouls to spawn at the White Spring. This should help higher-level players more easily complete the kill unruly golfer feral ghouls at the White Spring objective. So, something I had noticed when I went back to try them to try that particular objective at a higher level, there weren't any. And it's just because I was too high leveled for it, they weren't appearing. So now they should, no matter what level you're at, and you can then complete the objective. That's cool. So, survival beta changes. Death mechanics. Cap losses on death in survival beta, now based on player's current level, will not exceed 50 caps. Presumably it's 1-to-1 with your level with a maximum of 50. Sounds like that's a reduction, so I think there's going to be people reasonably happy about that, to be honest. Generally losing less when you die, especially in survival mode, will be a popular change, I would have thought. So, scoreboards. Added new survival score category. This is something they talked about last week, and that will be used as a primary stat for ranking player progress in performance in survival beta worlds. Players receive 1 survival point for every XP point in survival beta. Total number will determine your placement on the scoreboards. 3 players with the highest survival scores will be highlighted on the map. Everybody else will be invisible. On death, your survival score will be reset to 0. When you kill another player, 75% of the points they had prior to death will be added to your score. So, fastest way to gain survival points, climb the leaderboards, kill other players, which is obviously what they had in mind, and an example as well. So, bug fixes. As per usual, there are an awfully large number of these, and I'm not going to go through them all. Some will apply to some people and some won't, so I will put a link down in the description as well so that you can go and check them out for yourselves. I suggest you do, because there is quite a lot of them, so chances are there's going to be something in there that interests you, even if it doesn't interest me. So definitely worth a look, and the other place you can find this easily if you want to is head over to my Twitter. I've retweeted a link to it as well, so I don't think you'll have to have a Twitter account for that either, but if you do, stop by, give me a follow while you're there. All that good stuff. So, a few that are interesting. I'm using one to open up with. Enemies. Fixed a visual issue that could cause feral ghouls to spawn wearing too many clothing items. Haven't seen that one. Kind of curious to see how that would look. Kind of also glad it's not in the other direction. Not enough would be worse, I think. Weapons. Crossbow bolts have been made easier to see. Okay. Curious about exactly how that works and whether or not that means it's just in flight or when they're lying on the ground and you want to pick them up or what, but it's interesting. There has been some speculation regarding the inclusion of archery in Ever Upwards, the new Pioneer questline. Pioneer Scouts questline, rather. So I reckon this is probably something to do with that or a reflection of that. I know I'm very interested to see where that goes. Possible character build there, maybe? So, blueprints. There are quite a few blueprint changes being made, again. But mostly it's to do with placement issues surrounding blueprints, so worth having a look if that's something you're doing and having issues with. Camps in general. Improve the way terrain and supporting objects are detected to allow for more natural object placement, so it should be easier to place foundations and such like, which is cool. Fixed an issue that could result in the loss of stored items under certain specific conditions. Okay, that's good to know about. It's not something I've seen, but losing stored items would be very, very frustrating, particularly if it then means you're short on resources, so I'm sure there'll be people who are happy to see that. Players can now correctly activate the build menu by selecting a teammate's camp if that teammate is away from the area. Cool, if you're building together, it's now going to function properly. Always welcome. Yeah, so this one's not very well written, but they've implemented an improvement to how wall decor items are attached to walls and other objects, so they should attach to the wall more easily and more cleanly, hopefully. Cool. Enemies. So, a couple of exploits. Address an exploit that can allow players to leave the game's playable area near Sugar Grove. Not really sure why you'd want to do that, but okay. And addressed an exploit that would allow vertibirds to be farmed for XP. So, again, not quite sure what the ins and outs of that are. It's not something I go looking for. But definitely a good change. General. This is an interesting enemy change. Mirelurks, Deathclaws, Mirelurk variants, and Radscorpions no longer considered animals. Creatures were incorrectly added to the animals category and already belong to other creature categories like insects or reptiles. Change should prevent inconsistencies and double dipping that could occur with perk effects. Basically, you won't be getting double damage if you have the right combination of perks against these creatures anymore. It should function as intended. Imposter Sheep Squatch. If the Imposter Sheep Squatch is visible when killed, the corpse will no longer become invisible. I'd like to see that bug go. That would be very frustrating, especially given the high level loot available from it. So, legendary robots now consistently detonate 10 seconds after being destroyed rather than randomly exploding. That is good. At least, wandering up there and saying, is it not gonna, will it blow up, will it not blow up? That was a frustrating situation. Kind of an alarming one. I suppose it had a bit of fun to it though. But now they will always detonate 10 seconds after being destroyed. Should then mean that as long as you back off, you can wait for them to explode, go in and then loot them. Hopefully it won't mean you have to run in, loot at the speed of light and then run away. Scorchbeast Queen can no longer be turned into an ash pile or a goo pile, so you should be able to always loot it. There's been some issues there. It's good. So some item changes. There's quite a lot, but these are some particularly interesting ones. Just an exploit that would allow players to gain the benefits of an aid item without consuming it. Good. Fixed an issue that could allow players to skip reload animations for certain weapons. Also good, particularly for PvP. Explosive shotguns. This is something they mentioned previously. Fixed an issue causing shotguns with the explosive legendary effect to deal double damage rather than the intended 20%. Yeah, they mentioned this last week. They were supposed to be working like this, but unfortunately due to a bug weren't. They were doing double damage. Now it should function correctly. It should also be listed correctly in your Pip-Boy as well. Grognak's axe can now correctly be repaired beyond 100% condition. Legendary items. All legendary effects rather than just the first are now correctly listed in a notification that appears when receiving a legendary item. Legendary stars are now correctly displayed in the item's name on the inspect and modify screens as well as in the notification. Little change, not life-changing, but nice little quality of life thing. It means you don't have to faff around so much to figure out whether or not you actually want the legendary you've just got. Fixed an issue that could prevent a player from receiving a legendary item after killing a legendary creature on a busy server. Welcome change, something they've been working on for a while, that one, so more steps in the right direction. The perks, there are a number of changes on the perks, like some of them small, some of them more significant, but particularly Wasteland Whisperer and Animal Friend will no longer affect certain things that they were previously affecting, things that they shouldn't have been doing. So if you're unsure and you're using those perks, it's worth taking a look to see what those changes actually are. Again, you'll find the link down in the description or over on my Twitter, whichever's easiest for you. Addictions. This one amused Davey apparently, no respawns. They are no longer cured by dying. Interesting thought. But yeah, that's functioning as intended and that's a good change. Pip-Boy. The Pip-Boy's component view, this is something I'm really happy to see. All components are now shown in the list, not just the components that are currently in the player's inventory. It should allow for easier tracking of hard to find crafting ingredients. So select component view and the full list will come up so you can tag them for search. Even if you haven't actually picked any up already, that's very, very handy little change. I'm pleased to see that. So apparently a bug, but either way, definitely a good fix. Vendors now reliably trade armor mod plans that were previously randomized, including Brotherhood of Steel combat armor mods and deep pocketed mods. So these are some of the most useful plans to get and some of the hardest to find. So they should be much more reliably traded by the various vendor bots, which is cool. I'm very happy to see that. There's a few things there that I've been looking for. Now I won't have to struggle to find them, which is great. Bet they'll be expensive though. Player vending might help with that, we'll see. And finally, vendors. Name plans and recipes once again correctly sort to the top of the vendor's inventory list instead of just shooting straight into alphabetical order. It's a bug that came with one of the recent patches, but it's good to see that going. It was mildly inconvenient, I think would be a good way of putting it. So yeah, big patch, a lot of good changes. Very much looking forward to checking out the new Pioneer Scouts questline. I'm very curious about the rumoured archery feature. It's something I want to take a look at and try out. I'm quite excited for that. Hope that pans out to be something interesting. A lot of good bug fixes, some cool stuff around camps and that sort of thing, so cool changes making building easier, and some good ideas coming up for me now as well, so very, very happy to see all that. Some things we've been waiting for a while coming as well. Just over a week until the purveyor drops as well, but in the meantime we can get rid of those legendaries. And yeah, on the horizon is display cases for camps, which is not listed in here, but I did mention it last week, and I imagine that will come on the 16th with the purveyor, but we'll have to see. Yeah, lots of really cool stuff. I'm very, very excited for this. It's looking to be one of the best patches yet. So, because my mouth is totally drying out, this is about a point to wrap up, I think. So, thank you very much for watching. I do hope you found that useful and informative. If you did, do hit those buttons for me. It's always very, very much appreciated. Social media links in the description, as well as links to the patch notes. And as always, hit that bell icon so you can come and join in on one of the streams as well. Been having a lot of fun. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I will be speaking to you all very, very soon.